always think about the person who discovered cheese. Did he like forget about his milk? And then when it curdled, he thought, hmm, maybe I should taste this. And then he discovered cheese. I just think about that sometimes. Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to Analyzing Abstracts, a show where me and my friends dissertate. I'm Luke here, your host. Today I have a guest in this rainy day. She once cried while writing a short song about a donut with sprinkles. She said it was back in high school. Here is Patricia Portugal.
Hi, Luke. Hi,
You don't
everyone.
mind me saying Patricia, right? Not just Pat.
I mean, you can call me whatever you want.
How's it going, Pat?
Okay. How are you?
How's life here? Well, I'm fine. Well, it's cold kasi umuulan.
Yeah, I actually like the rainy weather. I was hoping it would rain today because, like, when I woke up, it was just. I mean,
It's so
it
hot, no?
it was so bright and hot. I mean, everyone else would find it a nice sunny day, but then I don't know. I just
No,
like
it's
it when
so
it's raining.
humid eh. It's
Yeah,
not like windy, breezy, sunny day.
yeah, it's not. It's just
S-
like I'm a burn your skin sunny day.
Yeah, that kind of sunny day. Well, speaking of sunny days, I don't know how this transitions to the topic at hand, but what our topic today is what makes a good film adaptation of a stage musical. So, we're going to talk about focusing only on like film adaptations cuz stage musicals can be adapted to many other things, and we're focusing only on musicals, not plays. And then we're not focusing only on the good ones. We can talk about the bad ones as well. We'll see. we,
Mhm.
we may have different opinions. What's good for me might not be good for you. You never
Yeah.
know. But here, it's all about our opinion. So let's start with how about I say one that I would consider a really, really good film adaptation, and then we go to you, Pat.
Okay.
So
Go
for
ahead.
me, a really, really good film adaptation of a stage musical is Chicago.
I
Because
knew it.
it's obvious. But to me kasi, other than the fact that it's one of my favorites talaga, it's more about how they... Because I think what made me like it even more was seeing the musical itself live. Because when it came here in the Philippines, I was like, yes, here's my chance. Because I really liked the film. And then
Mm.
seeing how the play worked, I was like, wow, the mind of the whoever created the film, I forgot his name. I think his mind thinking, so seeing this musical that had no backdrops, no almost no props. It's just people on the stage, and then even the orchestra is on the stage. Eh. So
Mm.
yeah, so like everything's like minimalist, and then he created this visually creative movie that I think really highlighted what the musical was about, because the musical is very self-aware, like it knows it's a musical, parang ganon. And
Mhm.
a lot of times when they sing to the audience, they sing to the actual audience, even, but in the story they're also singing to like an audience in a show, parang ganon.
Mhm. Yeah,
Tapos
yeah.
but the audience changes because in one part the audience is an actual audience. In one part the audience is like a courtroom audience. Parang ganon. How he translated that into film was, have you watched the film?
Yeah, I have, but a long time ago, so I don't remember it maybe as well as you. But I do remember the scenes like especially in I think the one I remember the most is Mr. Cellophane, that performance.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it was so sad. Maybe that's why it stuck with me. And
Oh,
maybe
the
because
sad
like I don't
ones.
know, I was like, what's cellophane?
Oh,
um
okay.
Anyway, that was interesting. But I do remember them like singing in front of an audience. I didn't know that the set was so minimal for the
It's
actual
very, very,
production.
very minimal. that I heard that I really love this when the director said it. So he thought, since the musical was very minimal, what if he makes like the film adaptation like two sides? One of the one side is the what's really happening, and the other side is what's happening in Roxy's head. So every musical part of the movie, every song, every time they sing, it's all in Roxy's head. Like, except for the finale, of course, because they actually sing. But if you look back at the movie, every time there's a song, it's always in Roxy's head. It's never in the real world.
That's that's a good way of like interpreting it.
Well,
Like
it's
to
not in it.
translate it to
Oh yeah,
film.
to translate it, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's very minimal, and the way the musical goes, kasi it's very like dry. Like, and again, as I said, it's very self-aware that it's a musical. Like, there's a twist in the musical kasi the reporter lady, I forgot her name. Basta the reporter lady, the
Mm.
main reporter lady, at one point of the musical, people will go like, you know how people pretend to be one thing, but they're really not. And you're thinking, oh, maybe that they're talking about Roxy because that's what she's doing the whole film, diba? The whole play, diba? And
Mm.
then the guy goes to the reporter lady and takes off her clothes, and it's apparently a man underneath the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
So a man was portraying the reporter lady the whole musical. Parang ganon. But
Mhm.
the thing was, the whole musical, it's obviously a man. Like, it's obviously a man singing falsetto, parang ganon. So, the joke's there, eh. Like, like, but they didn't do that sa movie because it would look too, it would look too silly, diba? It doesn't make sense in the movie format.
Yeah, yeah. There are just a lot of I watched this video before that kind of, talked about actually it was mostly about cats. Because yeah, okay, anyway. So it was about cats, and that was the same, or not the same, but that was the issue for the musical, the producers. uh
Mm-hmm.
you know it, right? So it won a lot of like Tonys and awards, but then a lot of the gags that were on stage, they did it in the film, but it didn't translate
Oof.
well.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
mean, if I
saw.
think if the audience, just YouTube some of the clips, then I think it'll be obvious. Yeah.
Or just don't watch it.
So sad. What a waste of Uma Thurman.
We'll talk about cats later. But
Okay.
but that's the thing about what I really like about Chicago, because in essence, both the musical and the film, they highlight like satirize the thought of celebrity culture, because this lady just murdered someone and people are going after her because she's telling the story about being a runaway convent girl who was an orphan, 'di ba? They're making fun of that aspect, the celebrity culture. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that in the end she did get acquitted, and then after that nobody cares about her anymore. She has to make
Yeah.
another do something else to be famous again, and parang ganun, like, but then in the end she and Velma are typecasted as like murdering women who actually murdered people, but people are still want to watch them. Diba? And they're making fun of that. And I think that's important then in translating na you make sure to just get the essence. Don't get everything. Don't translate everything like word for word, T to T, but just get
Mm-hmm.
the essence of what the musical is trying to say, trying to give a message about, and then that's what you try to make into the film creatively. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I like the idea that every musical number is in Roxy's head. It makes sense because she wants to be famous. So everything that she sees is like, oh, she's a vaudeville actress doing numbers. So it still makes sense. It doesn't it like it made musical numbers into like a plot point instead of like something that just happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
would argue that that's it's not that Les Miserables was a bad adaptation,
Okay.
but the thing is, it didn't make sense why they were singing. They were just singing, and the
Mm-hmm.
whole movie they were singing. In the musical, which I watched, the whole musical is singing. There's like zero, almost zero dialogue. So when they
Yeah.
have dialogue in the film, it feels weird because it's not supposed to be. There's not supposed to be normal dialogue in this
Mm-hmm.
story. It's supposed to be all fantastically singing, ganon.
Yeah. There's this part in Phantom of the Opera. So actually, the movie of Phantom, that is the first one I saw. Well, I guess just to put it out there, musicals aren't so accessible to us as as movies are. So
Yeah,
actually, my love for musicals kind of start, or like Phantom had a lot to do with it because it was one of the first ones that I had seen. But there's a scene somewhere in the Number of Masquerade where see Raul and Christine,
roll, roll, roll.
they're talking somewhere on the side, and in the original, or like in the stage play,
Musical. Yeah,
in the musical, he sings he sings a line in the song which goes like, it's an engagement, not a crime. So it's part of the number, he sings it, but then in the movie when they film it, suddenly he's singing, and then he goes to like a speaking voice, and he says like, it's an engagement, not a crime. And to me that just caught me off guard, because I was just like, if there's I think the point here would be, to use the music. If you're doing a musical, like, I'd say use the music to your advantage, or like figure out how it fits in
how
the story.
how to fit it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like what you
because
said. Like for
in Chicago, there's also almost no dialogue in the play other than narration. Eh.
yeah,
But
so
they still have a movie, pero the movie worked even with the normal dialogue.
yeah, so you kind of have to figure out like the logic of the music, right? Fitting it in the film. So is it the kind of film, or is it the kind of adaptation where, everyone's just singing, or is it the kind where they sing, like you kind of have to build like a set, or like have to set it up for them to sing, like in Chicago where, there's an audience and there's a stage for that. It's not just something like they burst out singing.
Yeah,
Right.
it you have to make the suspension of disbelief more understandable and not just because they're singing, parang ganun.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's parang it's valid naman, but I think it has to make sense within that universe of that adaptation.
Yeah,
Cuz
yeah, yeah.
right, speaking of suspension of disbelief, for example, in animated films, like there's no setup, there's no stage, and the characters, they burst into song, but it's not as weird, which is because when you're watching animated films, they're drawings moving, but
Yeah,
you're supposed to pretend that they're real, even if they're not,
yeah.
because they require more suspension of disbelief. So that's why when they burst out singing, it's like it's fine, it fits, which I think they kind of tackle in Enchanted. That's a
Yeah,
good
they make
movie.
fun of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to know about that, then Enchanted is a good example and a good demonstration of like how weird it can be.
So, how about you, Pat? What's like, if you have to pick one, what's the prime example of what you would consider a good film adaptation of a stage musical?
I really don't know because the ones I've seen, well, the ones I've seen are there's like Phantom, there's Cats, there's West Side, Les Mis. But the thing is,
Why
if
did you watch not the good ones?
I don't know. Those are the ones
I'll,
that were
okay,
available.
I'll be honest. The Phantom is not a good adaptation, and
It's
I think people know it because I think the problem with the way Phantom, the film, dealt with the grandeur, it made it too intimate. I mean, film is supposed to be intimate, but it made it too intimate. It didn't feel grand anymore. And I think even the way Joel Schumacher chose how to shoot it, it didn't feel big. It didn't
mhm.
feel larger than life.
I think that's that's something that keeps coming up with his musical adaptations. Like
Joe
he did,
Schumacher?
yeah. Was he the one who did Les
What else did he
Mis?
do? No,
Wasn't that
that's
him?
Tom Hooper.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
That's the guy who
That's a
made
different
Cats.
subject.
And that's the guy who made King's Speech.
Right. Yeah. No. But then I did.
Joe Schumacher made Batman and Robin.
Right. 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 Yeah. That's. I'm sorry. I was just
Well,
looking at other
I think
comments.
I think his influence in film here is the way the sets were amazing and the costumes were amazing. He got that, and the way it looked nice. It looked like it was really set in that time, which I think he's really good at. Because if you look at Batman and Robin, his aesthetic is really there. So I think that's it. But
Yeah.
in terms of like interpreting the musical itself, I mean Gerard Butler is a choice as well, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it was so
Listen,
weird seeing him there. I was like, is this? Should I be watching this?
that's one of the things I wanted to bring up actually. Casting choices are a big part in what could make or break an adaptation. So my so there's Gerard Butler who didn't have any kind of like voice coach, or he was in a band, I think,
I think
before
I don't
that.
know.
But
He's
then like
Australian.
but then he didn't have any, I think, formal like coaching before that. Si Christine naman, si Emmy Rossum, she
Oh,
had,
Emmy
and
Rossum's great.
yeah, she was all right. I mean, there are debates on whether or not the way she was directed or played really fit the role of Christine, but her voice was okay. It wasn't.
I think she was chosen because she looked like Christine.
Well, yeah, I mean that could possibly be one. And there's a lot of debate on, if she was a good Christine or not. But she definitely had more background in terms of singing versus who they casted as Phantom. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of debate though on whether her voice was fit because she was really young, and I've seen the live performance of it. So I've seen it when it came here to the Philippines,
Mm-mm,
and also the 25th anniversary, which was
mm-mm.
they had it streaming for free some time ago.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think the characterization of Christine, or at least her voice, at the very least, is really different from what is portrayed in the film. Like she has a more powerful voice because she's an opera singer,
yeah.
and you have to have a strong voice for that. But anyway, so that's about the casting. Like I think it's really important. Like at the very least, you have actors who can sing.
I I mean, I'm thinking now. Like, are there like movies where it's someone's known to not to sing, but they do well? But I'm not sure now.
Huh. Not to
I mean,
sing.
would you count, even though it's not an adaptation of a stage musical, would you count La La Land with Emma Stone? Because she's not known to be a singer.
Yeah, actually, I
Hold,
was.
but then I'm thinking maybe she did do singing. I'm not sure
I think
anymore.
someone mentioned what's that? Cabaret? Was she in that?
Cabaret. Oh, she was in Cabaret, so she did know how to sing. Now, I think you're right. Na if you pick someone who doesn't know how to sing,
I
now
I
I'm
haven't
looking
watched
at
it, but
their.
I just read it somewhere. But
Yeah,
then
yeah. I
yeah,
remember nga na she portrayed Cabaret. She portrayed the lead in Cabaret in
uh-huh.
Broadway, Broadway or
Yeah.
West End. I don't know which one. So she
Oh,
did
how
do some singing before La La Land.
that's kind of weird then, because in La La Land, okay, so if not Emma Stone, maybe Ryan Gosling.
Oh, but he's known
um,
to sing though.
really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought the performances in La La Land were just okay. Like Emma Stone, actually, well, like strictly speaking, she didn't hit some notes, or there were times where I felt her projection was a bit off. But then I was thinking maybe
That's part of it.
yeah, it's part of her character. And then
Yeah.
Ryan
Because she's not,
Gosling,
because at the start, but she's not sure if she's a good person, good actor. I mean, not person. And then
yeah, she's like
she
not
grows the
confident in
confidence
herself.
throughout the movie, and when she reaches audition, that's her like moment of realizing what kind of person she should be. Ganun.
Yeah, that's like her shining moment, right? But then, well, for me, I guess strictly speaking, it wasn't super clear, like all the notes that were hit. But for me, like I gave it the benefit of the doubt na baka maybe it's part of her character, which is fine. I think it's effective naman. But then Ryan Gosling, well, maybe he sings, but then I don't know, I felt like it wasn't so effective, or there wasn't a lot of I don't know, when he sang, what is that,
City of
they have
Stars.
that duet. Oh well, oh my gosh, City of Stars.
A Lonely
Personally,
Night.
yeah, what a lovely night. And when they were dancing, I was like, oh, it's okay lang.
Oh,
I mean,
really? You didn't like it?
yeah, because I see Ryan Gosling. So what they were doing was tap dancing, right? So Ryan Gosling, I noticed that his back isn't very straight, which is,
Yeah,
it's
because
okay. Maybe it's a
in the
style or
yeah,
something.
it's part of the character. Well, that's
Right.
my defense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So there's that. So that could be it. But then for me, I'm thinking, if there's a dance and you want to use it effectively, and I could see that their moves are very, how do you say, not really geometrical, but then there's that one, I think, if you think of La La Land, like you can see it when their arms are kind of outstretched and then their knees are bent. I think if you search for maybe like posters or something, it's their pose when they were dancing. And then I just
Okay.
thought it was very, like,
Intricate,
not really intricate. It's a strong
precise.
pose there. Yeah, it's
Okay.
kind of a precise, strong pose, angular. But then when your back is like medyo slouched or
Interesting.
something, it kind of takes away from the impact of what could have been like sharp movements or something like that. Which is
Interesting
what
that you see it like it should have been a sharper film, even though the idea of La La Land is about like paano ba? Well, I think that's another whole thing, really, kasi the debate on whether La La Land is a good musical or a good film, ganon. Pero like, ako I saw it more as kaya messy, kaya hindi clean. Kasi that's how it was shot before. Yung mga 1950s, 1940s, yung mga one take, ganon. You see all the mistakes, you see all the roughness, you see the out of step, mga ganon. And that's what he was going for, yung old Hollywood feel, which I think he really captured though.
Yeah, I think so too. The old Hollywood feel thing. Although, but then I remember watching a bunch of like Fred Astaire videos before, and well, it's the level is different. Well, of course, Fred Astaire being Fred Astaire, but
Yeah, it's Fred
then I
Astaire.
guess yeah. No, I mean, I guess for me, um, I don't know. The dancing was not so great for me personally. I think that La La Land I like it. I really like it as a film. Although as a musical, it's okay. It's really not the worst musical film at all. I really like, the songs are good and the performances are not terrible. They're okay. I mean, it almost won Best Picture, although that's not such a, like, the standard is
Yeah, it's not like the standard if it's a good
reliable.
musical or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Even
But
if
then
it wins,
anyway,
that doesn't mean it's a good musical,
yeah,
diba?
yeah, that's true. Um I'm just thinking of like all the lamest videos and analysis videos that I've watched. Anyway,
So should we go to just say it and go
wait,
to
I'll,
Russell
I'll just
Crowe?
I'll just say about La La Land na I think they could have, if they're going to use the music and dancing, I think they could have really utilized it and made it strong, if they really wanted it to be a major or an essential part of the film. Like the
Interesting.
performances.
So you think it didn't become like an essential part of the film?
No, I think it is. It's just the
Oh, okay.
execution. Maybe it could have used a little bit more work. But we can go on to
Interesting.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think acting wise, Russell Crowe's Javert was good. More than okay, more than meh. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Singing was not good, but I don't know. Like the film itself now was really weird na. Tapos I don't know talaga. Like he has this weird like hitting the high notes, 'di ba? Oh.
Yeah, yeah. He sings in a generally high register.
It's like the disbelief was already suspended. His singing made it suspend
You're
even more.
making
Oh my god,
you're
that's so
making it
mean. I
harder
don't know
for
why
me,
I said that.
Russell Crowe. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Russell
I'm
Crowe.
sorry. I'm sorry to
You're
that.
really good. No. But ayun, like I don't know. I don't know. I didn't do research. I don't know if he was known to have sung before or do any kind of musical, but it was just so weird watching it. Tapos they did it live pa, so they didn't um do much vocal like audio mixing or stuff like auto tune or stuff because they had to
Yeah.
record it in the
So,
scene itself,
mm-hmm.
which we'll also discuss later because that's a weird choice. But like I don't know, maybe if you're casting, make sure they do have a background in singing because about the casting of actual like people who know how to sing. My thing is someone who doesn't know how to sing will probably not audition in the first place.
How did Russell Crowe end up there then?
I don't know. You should ask Tom Hooper. He's like your best friend now.
But that just goes to show, like, whether or not Russell Crowe had a background, he was cast. Like, even if, let's say, he had the background, but like his actual performance or his actual singing is not that great, like they cast him anyway. So, and then it gets me thinking about when I was watching, like, when we were kids and we were watching animated movies and people are singing and dancing, and I realized that sometimes they cast big
Singing
names.
voice.
Yeah, there's singing voice, and then
They
there's
do it
all.
until now. Like in Moana's dad, the speaking voice is different from the singing voice.
And for me, like, when let's well this I guess this is specific to like the younger audience. Maybe I didn't care who was voicing the character, but
Yeah,
I
you wouldn't
think I
know.
would notice if they weren't singing properly.
Yeah. But then that goes back to I found the right segue. Look at High School Musical, what they did
Oh my
in the
gosh.
first movie. Na it's not really Zac Efron singing the whole time,
Yeah. Oh
but
my
you
gosh,
didn't
that was
notice it.
such a lie to
But
everyone.
there, the your point is there.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
point is
exactly.
proven. Na we didn't know that was a different voice
Mhm.
until the concerts came,
Oh my
and
gosh.
people
Like,
are like, "Why is Zac Efron not in the cast?" Oh, apparently he wasn't the one
yeah,
singing.
I remember seeing maybe the CD of the concert, and I'm just like, who's this guy on the cover? I don't know him. Then boom. Well, eventually Zach learned how to sing.
Oh yeah, he did well naman in the sequel.
Yeah.
Well, going back um to adaptations. Well, you didn't answer the question that I asked before if you have a prime example. But
Um.
do you
Okay.
want us to go back to it na lang later when you feel like you've got enough information to think about for you what's the best?
I have a feeling that I might not have seen. Gosh, I'll just say if Sound of Music was an adaptation, I'll just say
It
Sound of
is.
Music. There.
Yeah, it is. It's an adaptation of Roger and Hammerstein's musical.
I just haven't seen the live of it, so I
Well,
don't actually
how would
know.
you?
It came here once actually, but then I missed it. But
But
then like one time. Come on.
yeah. Well, I think that's a great adaptation because I think the thing talaga about adapting it is you need to translate these stories told in just one point of view and to change it into a multi-perspective thing without losing the essence of the film, the
Mhm.
musical, which I think
Mhm.
Sound of Music got because From Hills Are Alive, right? That
Mhm.
moment. And I watched before a Sound of Music production here. It's a local production naman.
Okay.
Tapos, I don't know how different it is from like how they did like the original Broadway because it's a local production. So they might have changed some things. But
Oh yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. Yeah, and then
but like I think the film did so well in translating the fantasticalness of it like that. Like I think that's the point of musicals anyway. It's like putting something fantastical into something that could be taken seriously. Like look at Les Mis. It's putting songs into a very, 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 very
it's
heavy
like
story.
yeah, serious heavy.
Like, have you read Les Mis? I've read Les Mis, and Cosette's part is so sad. Like the way it just happens in the play and in the film, na Castle in the Sky. But in the book, it describes everything that the Thénardiers did to her, how they abused her, and it's so sad. And then I remember this part in the book. Um, Jean Valjean just got Cosette out of the Thénardiers.
Okay.
Um, in the movie and in the play, they show it like he paid them. Am I
Yeah.
right? He
Yeah,
paid
yeah.
them to get ano Cosette.
Cosette.
But in the book, I don't quote me, but I think in the book, what I remember is he stole it. He stole Cosette from them, and that's why in the rest of the book they try to get Cosette back because Jean Valjean stole Cosette from them. Parang ganon.
Mm. In
Tapos
the
there's one part where they go over a wall, and then Jean Valjean goes down and looks straight onto Cosette and tells her that she's safe now. Ganon, and then Cosette was like, I don't remember the exact words, but she was like, "Am I really safe?" That was like, poor Cosette.
that's so sad.
Yeah, it's so
It's
sad
it's
reading.
miserable. Les
Like
Miserables.
she didn't know because she
She
grew up
doesn't
in the
know what it's
Ternadiers.
like.
She didn't know what safe would be like, and then
Oh,
the book goes on to describe like Jean Valjean taking her to a bed, and she's like she doesn't know what to do to the bed because she didn't have a bed,
oh
and then
my
like
gosh.
poor Cosette. Anyway,
In the musical and the film, they interpret or portray it as Jean Valjean. He pays for Cosette, but I think he underpays for her. And then
but in
the
they interpret kasi the Ternadiers as a more comical villain.
yeah, that's
In the
true.
book, they're more evil. Eh. They're not
Mm,
comical at all.
I can imagine the stuff they do, man, and you describing the abuse of Cosette. And I think just in general, like Les Mis, the book is not as comical as we've seen it on film or stage.
Uh, uh. Well, I think there's some high points naman talaga from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, remember when I said na there are parts that there are dialogue. Now I'm not sure anymore because I don't remember now if there's normal dialogue because all I remember now is everyone singing.
I think there's very little, in if
There
ever
was,
there
right?
is.
I'm not like making it up
I think just a little bit.
a
Like
little
I'm
bit.
not sure if
Anyway,
those are parts that are sung in the actual musical that they just
see,
decided
I'm
to
not sure anymore nga eh.
like they just decided to speak them.
But then the best parts of the movie is when it becomes dynamic because I remember the scene where Jean Valjean just saw Fantine die, and then Javert comes and he's like, I'm now here to capture you 24601," and they're like singing while fighting.
Oh yeah, I
Now
like
that was an exciting part
that scene
because
actually.
it was
Yeah, yeah.
dynamic. But then I think the problem was because like in the play, all the solo bits are sung solo in the middle of the stage with just them,
Mm,
and in the film they sing it in the film with just them
mm-hmm.
when they could have interpreted it with a different point of view. For example, Eponine on My Own. In the movie, she just sings in the rain in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Great, Samantha Banks. Samantha Banks, is that her name?
Yes.
The actress. The actress did well because she was the Eponine in the play naman in West End. So like she
Oh,
did well, but
Barks.
I
What?
Barks, not
Barks?
Banks.
Well, never mind. It says Banks on IMDb. Oh wait, no, that's a different girl. Bark.
Okay, so it's Barks.
Wait. Yes. Nope. You know what? Never mind.
Oh,
God.
never mind. Samantha. Well, Samantha.
Internet's not reliable.
ba- basically, my point is, do you remember that scene that it was just her in the street in the
On her
rain?
own.
It's like, okay, it makes sense, but now imagine it if there were like she was singing it while she saw Cosette and Marius talking.
Uh-huh.
Like she was singing it, seeing them. Ganon.
Uh-huh.
She you need, I think,
Like
to
the
make it
lyrics
into,
of the song
yeah, the lyrics to make more, yeah,
juxtapose
juxtaposed to it, diba?
juxtapose. Yeah.
Or like in I Dream the Dream, there's a part where Fantine sings about the guy who
Her.
left,
Yeah.
who got her pregnant with Cosette, right?
Mm,
And then how he left when autumn came.
yeah. Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
But you don't get that just from her singing alone.
Hmm.
In the play, it would make sense because you're focused on the singing. But in the musical, in the film, I don't feel like it would capture just by her singing alone.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Like film has, film and theater, they're so different because they can achieve like totally different things. That's one of the things with film. Like you have the possibility of separating the audio and the visuals, right?
Diba?
Like
Because
someone
in
else is
a
narrating one
film,
different visual.
yeah, a film would have a different visual medium versus a theater play. Eh.
Mm-hmm.
So again, they could have utilized it to make it more visually
Creative?
appealing, not really creative, not appealing.
Uh-huh.
Because I think the reason then why not a lot of people went to see it, because they thought it would be boring, and it was. But if you look at like other adaptations that would have been boring and they made it more engaging, parang ganon.
Hmm.
Like I would say Into the Woods, they made it more dynamic, more engaging. Like there are some scenes in the play that the person is singing alone. Good example is the, have you watched Into the Woods?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen the film.
So you know the part where the two princes are singing about
Yeah.
agony, and then in the musical they were just standing in the middle of the stage.
Oh well, yeah,
But
because there's no waterfall
in the
on
film,
the.
there's a waterfall. They were playing around with the vines. So see, diba? I don't mean like it doesn't have to be a literal translation of the lyrics. Just make it more dynamic, more vibrant than just people standing there and singing.
Yeah, there's
Because
a lot.
if I wanted to watch people singing Les Miserables, I could have just gone to covers in YouTube.
Speaking of, there's a really good what's that? Yung 10th anniversary concert of us up on YouTube, which
Oh,
yeah,
see,
and
they could have just got that, place it into the film. Same
I
thing.
guess so. Yeah.
It's like what you said about n- they could have done
Yeah.
more, and they could have, because you know what he did with cats.
My gosh, that's so that's like on a different level, man.
Diba? Now that's the opposite. Okay, let's go to
Okay.
cats. Let's
Yes.
just. I think the problem is cats itself is not something that could be adapted into film.
It's so
Period.
different. There's just so many like layers to it. To the original. Even yeah,
To the
even
musical.
as something on Broadway, it was so different from the typical, right?
Yeah, because it's very dreamlike in the
Mm-hmm.
play. You feel like you're just in a lucid dream. You're gonna think, what am I watching? But why am I enjoying it?
There is the question of what's that? Not if we can, but if we should.
That's the thing. As I said, like I think cats. There are tons. There's probably a lot of musicals that could probably be same as cats that can't be translated into plays.
Into film.
Into
Yeah.
films. Yeah, I think Cats is one of them. Like that's the one play that you shouldn't touch because it's weird
But
already if you put it into film, and the way they did it, but it's like 1:1 copying with just a little weirdness to make it more CGI whatever. But even I think even if they didn't use CGI, it would have still been weird.
Let's talk about how weird Cats is. Like the original material. So a lot of people, I think their main problem with it is that they think it doesn't have a plot. What do you think?
Technically, well, technically it doesn't, but it's based on a series of poems which Andrew Lloyd Webber tried to make a plot. But then, if you're gonna say that the plot is the Jellicle Ball and how um what's his name? Deuteronomy was taken by McCavity, and then later Mr. Mistopheles brought him
Okay,
back.
so for for transparency, I'm a fan of Cats, the musical. I actually really like it. So I'm gonna say,
No, that's not a
I
problem.
mean, just for transparency, I know
Honestly,
it's
that's
not.
not.
I know. I love cat. I don't. I'm not ashamed. So all you haters out there. Anyway, so I was going to say, actually, there is a plot. It's just like
Someone bullying you.
the internet. No, they haven't. They haven't because I'm not out. Um, as a Cats
Now they
fan.
will.
Uh, but I'll say that it does have a plot. It's just really, really minimal. The plot is it's kind of there's another musical that's similar to it called A Chorus Line, which I think it's too
I
old
think
for people to care about.
that has less plot.
Yeah, basically in A Chorus Line, people are just kind of
And
auditioning.
look at that. Look at the film adaptation. It was bad
Oh,
because they just copied the musical 1:1. So people were like not understanding what was happening because if you copy the thin plotted musical 1:1 into a film, it would come even thinner because people pay more attention.
yeah, same thing with Cats. Parang there's yeah, it's really like with a plot like that. Like, and I think I'm not so sure, but I think if I remember reading something correctly, Andrew Lloyd Webber was actually, if I remember correctly, he wasn't really allowed to kind of put that much of a plot when he was putting the poems together for the musical. Like that might have been a factor as to why it's like that. Um, but anyway, so
Again, I don't mind the musical talaga. It's just that they tried to put a plot now in the film because they had to
made it
translate it.
really
My
weird.
point is, don't try to force something into something that shouldn't you shouldn't have touched in the first
Yeah, yep.
place.
And the way that they do it is really not elegant. I think
Very.
someone on Twitter said it well. They kind of assume you're stupid, like even more, even dumber than what they would have assumed you were if you were like in the theater. Like they assume the film of the audience is like they have to explain everything at the end with what's her name? Judy Dench.
Deuteronomy.
Yeah,
Deuteronomy Dench.
old Deuteronomy Dench. Right.
Her looking at the
My
audience.
gosh, that last part really to me was just and it was such a long scene. Anyway,
You're
so
like, please don't look at me, Judy
and then
Dench.
in that scene, she has like the three other sort of mean cats in the background. And at some point, because Judy Dench's monologue there is kind of boring. I'm just watching them, and they're just as weird, like reacting in the background to her. Anyway, so that's on the plot of Cats and what they shouldn't have done. And there's so much more. What part do you want
So
to talk
much
about
more
next?
costume.
Okay.
They they could have just done normal costumes, not CGI. They could have done normal sets. Well, they could have like elevated normal sets with CGI, not purely CGI. I mean the casting was okay, but you kind of forget about the okay casting when you're cringing the whole time.
There's just so much else distracting you from the casting until you
Yeah.
see Idris Elba like take off his coat and like he's really just wearing nothing. He's in a I don't know, it's just so weird. It's like naked Idris Elba, but he has fur.
And and in the play, like Macavity isn't seen like
Oh
that.
yeah, they really changed a lot with um the characterization, which actually I don't mind. It's just like the way that they changed it. It's
Executed
really
poorly.
weird. Oh gosh, I feel so. You know who my favorite is? My favorite is Mr. Mistopheles, and he's the one that I think they robbed the most from, because he has this. So Cats in general is a very dance dance heavy musical compared to the other ones typically, which they lost a lot of when translating it to film. And Mr. Mistopheles, they call him
He's like
ah
magical.
his special move, which is called the conjuring turn, which his conjuring turn is he does, I forgot how many
A
pirouettes.
pirouette.
Yeah, it's his signature move. And they actually use the lyrics conjuring turn in the film, but he never does. He has, okay, like 24. He does it 24 times on stage, like the typical. And gosh, oh, they made him into such a dork. He doesn't sing and dance. He's not cool anymore. Oh,
Oh, so you're
okay.
saying he was
Well,
cool.
I thought he was cool. I don't know how old was
He's
I?
no rum
12.
tum tugger.
Rumtum Tugger is. I couldn't understand anything Jason Derulo was saying, but then maybe that's just me and his accent.
Because it's Jason Derulo.
Yeah, Rumtum Tugger. I don't know. It was okay.
Okay. Anyway, that's about cats. We could stop there. um, what other points? I think we've said a lot of points na. Do you have other points that you think is important when translating a
I would
musical into a film?
say, what have we discussed? Well, we've discussed casting and the,
The
focusing on
essence,
capturing
the
the
focus.
essence, right? Well, this one is actually not so much about translating a musical into a film, but maybe just musical films in general. Actually, not in general. I'm thinking of Greatest Showman. There is something about that, their music. Okay, so let's talk about the songs in Greatest Showman, if that's okay.
No, go la.
I think it's important that the music and lyrics are still, like, when they translate it or when they do a film of whatever, are still connected to the story. Because, like, in Greatest Showman, I think it's their marketing tactic. They made the songs really catchy and good standalone. And you know how people do it nowadays, na they release the soundtrack before the actual
Yeah,
launch of, or the actual screening of the film. And then when I
yeah,
watched Greatest Showman, like, the music was all over, the lyrics especially were all over the place. I remember
yeah.
for Rewrite the Stars, when they started singing it, I was just like, what?
They're
Where
trapeze
where is
artists.
this metaphor coming from, or this figure of
They
speech? Because
they're writing the stars because they're
are
flipping above the sky. I don't
there
know.
stars on the ceiling of the circus? I don't know. But then they never talk about it before singing about it. So it's just like, they're just pulling it
Yeah,
out
it's
of
true.
nowhere. Anyway, so I think it's
That's
important.
true because look at how Mamma Mia the musical got songs that are already
Mm-hmm.
written and
Any connection, right?
doesn't have anything connection with each other, but they fit it so well in the
Yeah.
story. Na when they did the film, it still worked because the songs are already intertwined with the story. Like that's I think the greatest achievement of Mamma Mia is like taking already written songs and making a story out of these songs that somehow it worked. And but the thing that they did though was they sometimes changed the lyrics of the original
Mm-hmm.
song. So that it still worked, diba? Parang ganun, like example is like Mamma Mia itself, the song itself.
Okay.
Na s- Donna, I think Donna her name is. I forgot. The mother, she sings it because she just saw her three exes in one room, and she because she doesn't know who the father of her daughter is, and she like determined it could be one of those three, and then seeing them, she was so worried of what will happen and all the stuff that will be brought back up. So she sang Mamma Mia. It makes sense. And then there's like Voulez-Vous, which is so well integrated into the musical, because this is the point where the three dads find out that they are a possible dad. So during a party, each one of them talks to the bride and says, "Oh, you brought me here because you think I'm your dad,
Uh-huh.
ganon. And so I'll walk you down the aisle tomorrow." But each of them says it. And then, so the bride is like, "What do I do?" And then they're singing, Voulez-vous. And it's like the choice. I forgot the lyrics. I have to search it.
Uh-huh.
Voulez-vous lyrics. It's like, you know what to do. The question is, do you want, diba? So the song is telling her that she has to do something because she did this. She invited the three guys. So she's like being pressured. So that's what your point is, na the songs still have to relate, still have to incorporate into the story and not just be like just good songs.
Yeah, it's the narrative is so important. Like, if the marketing tactic of Greatest Showman was to get these people hooked, get the audience or the listeners hooked on the songs, for me, because it is a musical, so they should they should really push
They
for it.
should
They
have
should.
just released an album if they didn't want to connect it to the
Yeah, exactly.
story.
And since it's a musical, for me, it would have been so much more meaningful. Like, if I knew or if I could remember that, oh, it was in this part of the narrative because it means like this, because it means like that to the character. It adds more meaning, and it makes it meaningful, and all the more I would have, let's say, remember it or cherish the song if that's what they really wanted, for people to like the songs.
Or like to the opposite end of the spectrum of what you're
Uh-huh.
saying. You could be like Rocky Horror, and the songs make no sense at all, but it's part of the story because the story makes no sense at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, and that could be the approach too, but it wasn't. It was like in the middle. They decided to kind of separate the songs from the narrative so that maybe, I don't know, people could sing it in whatever context, but it just kind of lost its meaning. If you want to make it a musical, I
Yeah.
think you really have to utilize the music to tell the story, or else why make it a musical anyway, right?
Yeah, that's like going back to my point of like in Les Miserables na if they were just singing in the middle of the stage, then or not in the stage, in the film, if they're just singing there, it doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, then why
Because,
why film it anyway?
diba, again, why I could have just watched YouTube covers or the 10th
That
anniversary or
is
25th
true.
anniversary.
Guys, watch the 10th
Or like,
anniversary.
yeah, I think the what's being lost kasi when you translate into film is the live aspect. You're losing the spontaneity. You're losing the like fresh vocals in your ears. So if you can't deliver that, you have to find a way to deliver it through the eyes, not through the ears. Makes sense, right? Did I make sense? Because if not, I'll retract my
Oh
statement.
yeah, I'll think about it. But now that you said, you mentioned spontaneity, what about the decision of in Les Mis to, record the singing live?
Look, again, why didn't I just watch YouTube covers? Because I mean, like in a film, it's supposed the sound is supposed to be almost perfect, right? Like, sure, you can capture the emotion more if it's live, but I think it still goes back to they're singing alone. Eh. If they were fighting like what Jean Valjean and Javert did, it's okay. The live sounds okay because the way they're singing is affected by how they're moving. But now when
Mhm.
they're alone, they're just emoting. I could have just watched the
Mm.
cover.
Actually, I remember reading that some people think, or what one of the issues also with the Les Mis film, their emotions, their emoting is so strong all the time. It's like they're at 100% all the time, which might be
Mm-hmm.
due to the live recording because, yeah, they have to, let's say, they have to give it their all because, it's a live recording or it's a one take thing. And then because of that, maybe as more film actors or not as experienced on like in theater or Broadway, maybe they get distracted or they can't focus as much. But it's so different when you're singing on
It's different.
stage in a theater versus when you're singing for film,
A
right?
film.
It's just like the
Yeah.
acting. For example, um,
Yeah.
when you're singing, when you're acting on stage, that's why people have bigger movements, and then when on film, it can be a lot smaller or a lot,
You can't. You don't
yeah,
have
it
to.
can be
Yeah.
subtler. But then,
So and that's what happened to Les Mis. They had to sing subtly
yeah,
because they're just singing
but
alone. And what happened was it wasn't as
it wasn't
strong.
as strong because they were singing more subtly.
I mean, like it was the effect wasn't as strong because they had to sing well while emoting.
Yeah, and I think that the live recording, because of that, it might have actually been, a handicap to the film. Yeah,
Yes, very
yeah.
much,
So that was
especially to Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, the live
Anyway,
recording as a handicap, like it's an interesting decision, but then overall I think you need to think if it translates the music best as it
I
can.
think it I think it's more of like you're going to a play. You're expecting to it not be super perfect because you're watching someone sing live. Now, if you're watching a film that's already pre-recorded, you're expecting it to be already perfect
Hmm.
or almost perfect
Interesting.
because you're gonna watch the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like if I watch the same musical over and over and over again, things might change depending on what happens that night.
Mm-hmm. But then, could it also be interpreted as part of the character? For example, like in La La Land, where Emma Stone's singing is not perfect, but then,
But then that's not based on a actual musical though. That's not based on a stage play.
yeah, I guess. But then, gosh, I have so much respect for theater and Broadway actors. Like when I watched Les Mis on Broadway, it was, yeah, the singing was there wasn't. It was so good.
Here's the thing. I remember watching Les Mis the movie before watching the
Mm-hmm.
play. I liked the
Yes,
movie,
actually, that was my same experience.
but after watching the play, I was like, the movie's not good anymore.
You realize.
Because you now have you something to compare it to versus like La La Land where that's its
Yeah.
own thing. Now you don't have anything to compare it to other than itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you can defend the choices. But in Les Mis, since it's an adaptation, there's something to compare it to.
Mm. Yep. Yep. But um
Diba? That's the hard part eh.
yeah.
Like imagine if there weren't a Cats musical before they made
Oh
the
my
Cats film.
gosh. You know what? If there wasn't, it would still be a terrible film. A unique one,
It
but
would
I
have
think it would.
but it would have probably reached like a more mixed perception rather than the really really negative reception it
Yeah,
got
that's right. People would be like, "Huh, this is a new thing," like blah blah blah. Yeah.
because there's something to pull it out
Yeah.
from. So when you're adapting something you still have to capture, like as I said before at the start, it's still about the essence of what you're capturing eh.
Mhm. Mm. Yep. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I actually listed a lot more films, but I think we're at a point where we understand now what what we're talking about. So going back, what do you think from what you've seen? What's the best one from you
From what
for
I've
you?
seen live.
Even no from what from the
Oh,
movies you've seen,
okay.
which do you think adapted the play well? Even if you don't didn't that's why I said that Les Mis is not bad. Because if you haven't watched the play, it's actually a good film. But if you watch the play, you wouldn't
So,
like it.
are you asking me to choose a movie based on a musical that I've seen, or even if I haven't seen the actual musical?
Why not? Let's do
Okay.
both. Let's do one that you've seen and one that you
Okay.
haven't. And you think it's a good adaptation. Ganon.
For the ones that I've seen, it's really hard to choose one because the ones that I've seen are okay. The ones that I've seen are Phantom, Cats, West Side Story, Les Mis, Wicked.
West Side Story.
Yeah, West Side Story, Les Mis, Wicked.
Have you watched the film of
Yes, I
West Side
have.
Story?
So, but then, yeah, it's
It's
not bad
okay.
actually. Wait. My list is King and I, Lion King, and High School Musical. Lol, because they actually made it into a
That's
musical. But I think that was like a
yeah.
local production. So I would say, I guess I think West Side is the best because it's closest, I would say, to to the mu- the live musical version. And the film
Honestly,
itself
from
is not that bad. It's not bad.
yeah, honestly, from all of that you've said, the only good
West
thing
Side.
there is West Side Story.
So that's from the ones that I've seen live. And then for the ones I haven't seen, like, I think I'd go back to my earlier answer, which is Sound of Music.
Oh, I think it's still
Yeah.
really good.
Gosh, I think I'm going to watch that later.
I think I think the way it captured kasi the warm heart of Maria talaga
Mm-hmm.
eh. Like it's because it's about this family escaping Austria, but they show first how they spend time together. Like you can even say na it's kind of thin in a way the story, but the way the film adapted it, it's not 1:1 eh. But they still made it look very cinematic. Just from the start, diba? When she sings "The Hills
Oh
Are
my
Alive."
gosh, yeah. So that's one way, one really good, even if maybe might have been obvious way to, translate that scene or that song into film and really utilizing the possibilities of like being able to shoot those wide shots and those beautiful like nature shots. Yeah, landscapes. Yeah.
See? Do you see what I'm talking about, ladies?
Nudge, nudge.
Now imagine if On My Own was her singing in a crowd of
Yeah, that's
people.
one way it could have been done. There are a lot of other ways, but
There are a lot
they
of ways.
stuck
We
to.
don't know what's the best way.
Yeah, we don't know. We're just giving suggestions, Tom Hooper.
Oh.
Whatever.
Well, anyway, basically what we're saying is just make sure that you've watched the musical if you're gonna adapt. Make sure you've like delved deep into its soul, you've tore its heart out, looked at it, examined it, put it back, and then make another heart.
Hmm.
Is that a good analogy or
Pwede, okay naman.
too morbid? Too
I
morbid.
know it's fine.
But right.
Whatever gets them there.
But right? It's really about if you're translate adapting something that's like a musical kasi is different from adapting a book, eh, 'di ba? Because a book
Mhm,
you have lots of things to work with. It's because it's just words. But in a
mhm,
musical, not only do you have the visual element, you also have the audio element, the oral element, 'di ba?
mhm.
That you have to do well as well.
Yes, I agree with that.
So you have to put those two things together and translate it into film without making it look boring,
Uh-huh.
'di ba?
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's the thing, 'di ba? Na parang again, I don't know why Les Mis became the prime example, but look at how I just sat there watching actress playing Fantine sing to me for 5 minutes, and I'm just watching because I was really entranced by her singing. But in the movie, not because not I'm not saying Anne Hathaway did bad, but she's just singing alone to herself in a big screen that's just cropped just to her face. You know. Do you get it?
Yeah. But I mean, I just I guess these are like my opinions, but then I'm not a director or cinematographer or anything. This is just me as your audience.
What? What is
Oh,
it?
I mean my opinions.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say something
No,
after
sorry.
that. Or you're just agreeing with
Dot dot
me.
dot. Yeah.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to say those things. People, we have the right
Yeah,
to
I
say
mean like
things.
who are you making it for anyway? Us. We're part of your audience. Therefore our opinions matter.
No, but also what I mean by not boring, because if you're someone who hasn't watched the
Mm.
musical, it has to appeal to you as well, diba? Someone who hasn't watched the
Yeah.
musical. So if you don't make
Yep.
it
I mean,
appealing to
I
those who
agree.
haven't
Yeah.
watched it, then you lost all of your audience.
Goodbye, Tom Hooper. You can
Oh,
retire from musicals now.
yeah. Please don't make musicals anymore.
Oh my.
Oh.
Oh. Uh, toot. Name
Okay.
redacted.
You said it many times
I
now.
know. There's no going back now.
Well, anyway, I think the good ones basically Chicago, Sound of
Sound of
Music,
Music, West Side.
West Side, Cabaret. I think you should see. Sweeney
Oh.
Todd. For me, some people don't like the movie, but I think it translated well. Sweeney
Mm.
Todd, Mamma Mia. The first one. Don't watch the second one. I think Annie is a good example as well of
Oh
the.
yeah,
There's
Annie.
two versions,
Not the newest one.
not the Jamie Foxx one. The two
The
earlier versions, I think,
90s.
are more. Yeah, they're more well into the what Annie was.
Mm-hmm.
Rocky Horror, if you're more into weird stuff. Ganun.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? There's more? Are there more that you think would work?
Um,
Even the ones that you haven't
I'm
watched.
thinking, but I think you kind of said like the top ones.
Most. Yeah.
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 Oop.
Well, there's a reason why they're the most
There's a
popular, right?
reason why they're top of mind for us.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
but
let's go.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say I just wanted to promote this one musical. It's called Fun Home. There's no
Oh,
film
I wanna
adaptation of
watch
it yet.
that. I wanna
My
watch that.
gosh. Well, Luke, when we went to the States the last time, I think that
Did you
was
watch it?
no, but then it was a decision between like Les Mis and Fun Home. It was a really hard decision. And I think I was the
Gotcha.
only one who wanted to watch Fun Home anyway. And my dad wanted to watch Les Mis and gosh.
But
I
I'll
really wish theater was more accessible here.
yeah, they should make a Netflix of just theater.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
we'll talk about that in another episode. Like musicals that are really good, but you don't see them adapted well into film. That could be another topic.
Mm-hmm. Someone once said that there are things in theater that are hard to translate to film. It's like watching a magician on TV. It's not the same, right? Not the
True,
same
true. That's
magic.
the best analogy talaga.
Yep.
Then maybe that's the last point that we're trying to make here. Na these are two different, even though they look the same, they sound the same, they're still two different mediums. One is live, one is recorded,
Yeah,
basically.
and they each have their own
Strengths and
features,
weaknesses.
kinds of magic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, on that note, thank you, Pat, for this
Yay!
discussion about good film adaptations, even though we mostly talked about something that's not considered amazing. Joke. It's good. Guys,
Uh,
it's good. I'm not hating on Lamis. It's good talaga. But if you wanna enjoy it, don't watch the musical first.
yeah, watch the movie first
Watch
and
the
then
movie
the
first, then
musical.
the musical.
If
Yeah,
if you
that's
even
true.
get the chance to watch the musical.
So Pat, reach out to you, message you. Where
Oh,
should they go?
if you liked or didn't like anything that I said, you can message me
You,
at. No,
uh,
just kidding. You can find
you can see Pat's art. She's an
my
artist, by the
handle
way.
is
So
Pat B Port, so PATBPORT, because like that's my first and last name, Patricia Portugal.
I like
Yeah,
how you had to explain.
I don't know. It sounds like porta potty. I don't know. People might anyway. So yeah, you can find me there. I'm not well, obviously we're not experts, but I don't know if I told you this before, Luke. I joined do you know trumpets?
Is that
The
the no? Is that
I guess you
called?
could call it like a conservatory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The Yeah, I joined trumpets for a couple of years. If you want to see me sing and dance,
Oh,
you won't find it on my Instagram.
ah.
But message
We'll
me.
we'll record that somehow. Thank you, Pat.
Alright.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
See ya. Thanks
See
again.
you
You'll be
again.
back soon, I think.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Bye.
And so that's it for today's episode. Honestly, we could probably talk more hours about this topic. We probably be like after this recording go, I should have said that. So again, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to wherever you're listening. If you have any comments, feel free to message me. Look Pagatipunan everywhere. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you again for listening and have a great day, everyone. Yeah, so now about like other than the cheese person, now I'm thinking about people who discovered wine or discovered pickles. I mean, who left their grape juice out until it turned to wine? Or who left a cucumber inside vinegar until it turned into pickles? You just wonder about these things, you know?